Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blackshirt Breakdown. My name is Steve Marik. I'm a staff writer inside Nebraska, and he is the Jay Foreman, our NFL veteran and former Nebraska Blackshirt. Jay, we are back once again to break down another Husker 2024 class commit, and this time it is Rex Guthrie out of Heritage High School in Littleton, Colorado. Jay, you watched Rex's huddle highlights, and first of all, before we get into that, shout out to the drone all 22 footage that I know some Colorado coaches have been using. I absolutely love it. You get a
Yeah,
great look of everything. So shout out to
yeah.
drone all 22 game film. That is awesome. But Jay, when fans maybe started researching, hearing a little bit about Rex Guthrie. They're going to see the 2 stars on Rivals. They're going to see Wyoming and Pennsylvania as his two kind of big offers. Nebraska was the first Power Five school to offer Rex Guthrie. He's not going to jump out off the page at you when you're looking at that kind of stuff. But when you turn on the game tape, you see him play football. Rex Guthrie is a football player, really
Right.
solid tackler. He wraps up. He doesn't just throw his head or shoulder into a thigh like some college DBs do. He is a really strong tackler, and I think put him in a Power Five weightlifting program, nutrition program. He's already around 200 pounds at 6 foot going into his senior year of high school over there at Heritage. I really like Rex Guthrie. I'm going to go on the record and say, outside of Kawan Lacey, who's kind of the big fish of this class right now, I think Rex Guthrie is my under the radar gem of this class. I can't say enough about Rex Guthrie, but my spiel is done. What about you, Jay? What do you think about Rex?
Well, I think you're spot on there. I think he fits a spot for them. I mean, I think they have an eye for what fits into their defense, and so he might be a 2 or 3 star by the rankings, but for them, he's a
Mm-hmm.
4 star because they see they've seen somebody like him be effective and be productive in somebody that they know can perform well on the defensive side of the ball. And also one thing that I think that adds to his credibility or where he could be more productive player. He has position flexibility based on his initial size right now, where
Mm-hmm.
he plays, and then the possibility of where he can grow into naturally to play at a different position when you're playing this 3-3-5 defense and you're trying to get as many athletes and football players on the field, and it's not not fixated on a certain size, certain weight at this position, so forth and so on. So and then his ability to tackle and have a good fundamental tackling is something that's glossed over by a lot of people, but not when you're trying to become a more fundamentally sound team. So you need to get more guys that can do the right things, the small little things repeatedly, consistently, day in and day out over time. That's when you'll start to get a better football team. That's when you'll have a more competitive team. That's where you'll see them do the simple things so well they look extraordinary. And so that's what he fits the script. He's a good athlete. Don't sleep and think that he's not a good athlete. And it's not what your initial list is. It's what the list is afterwards. And more offers that come after Nebraska obviously got a commitment from him. But I think the one thing I think that I've learned from you talking offline is not just the offer, it's the committable offers tells you more than anything when they commit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that he committed, it's a relationship, and it's both ways. He wanted to come here and they wanted him. And as we see the tape right here, he jumps right off because of not only his athletic ability, but the way he feels. He can read, just like a running back can read blocks. He can read offensive passing schemes and run schemes and fits in really well. So they're able to kind of project him where he's at right now. Smart football player, tough,
Yep.
wraps up, position flexibility, because he's over 6 foot, so he could potentially move down into the box,
Mm-hmm.
where there's the weak side linebacker, kind of that jack of all trades position. I don't know exactly what they call it. I'll just call it the X factor or the eraser, a la Bob Sanders. So when we get in this highlight tape, you'll see exactly what we talked about.
And before the highlights, just a little bit more background on Rex. He's a similar recruit to other 2024 commits like Jake Peters, the offensive lineman from Iowa. Braylon Prude, the safety outside linebacker from Texas, Callan Barta, the safety from Kansas. These are low rated, under recruited guys who Nebraska was their first Power 5 offer, and they ended up committing. But it's, again, I think when guys like Evan Cooper, who I'm going to say a quote here when I talked to Rex for his commitment story, Evan Cooper sees something in these guys, and he it's like a ball of clay where I think Nebraska's staff can take these guys and develop them over time. And maybe not in year one, but maybe 2 or 3, you can start seeing them get on the field, maybe not even at the position that they're originally recruited as. So I think that's something that I think this staff is really going to hang its hat on doing. But let's get into that quote, because I found it really interesting. So after Rex Guthrie committed to Nebraska, I called him up, talked to him about it, and he said, quote, Evan Cooper was really the first big college coach to see something in me. He was telling me, I don't care about rankings, because what you have right now, you can be whatever you want to be if we work hard. He just sees a lot in me with my athleticism and skill, which means a lot coming from him. I can't wait to get to work with him. He's a great coach. So Rex Guthrie, just very high on Evan Cooper, the DB's coach, and also pretty high on Nebraska's linebackers coach, Rob Dvorak, because Rex told me on his official visit, Rob Dvorak was in Rex's ear saying, hey, I want you in the linebacker room. Maybe not this year, but a couple seasons down the road, we'll see what your body looks like as you physically mature. And maybe you'll be a linebacker at Nebraska in a couple of seasons. So that was really fun. And one more thing before we get into the highlights is when I'm watching Rex Guthrie play safety, which he did he played a lot of cover 4 defense at Heritage High School. He reminds me a lot of a former Wyoming safety, Andrew Wingard, who is still kind of around the same size, 6 foot, 200. Andrew Wingard has been starting for the Jacksonville Jaguars for the past 4 or 5 seasons as kind of like a 6 foot, 210 pound, sure tackling safety. I just see a lot of similarities there. And if you want to go down to the Huskers comparisons, maybe Isaac Gifford, something like that. Just, he started in the back end as a safety. As he grew up, as he got stronger and physically matured, he moved down closer to the line of scrimmage as a nickel back. And we'll see, he might even be Tony White's rover in that 3-3-5 defense. So we'll see what that defense looks like and where Isaac ultimately ends up, the sure tackler that he is. But enough talking from me. Let's get in with these highlights. Again, shout out to the drone all 22. This is awesome, Jay. So take it away. What do you see here from Rex Guthrie, who's going to be playing at that safety spot right here?
Well, he's playing from, he's coming down from depth. So, looks, when they spread you out here, they're trying to force safeties to make one-on-one tackles in the, the offensive scheme that he's facing. So, when you're projecting him to initial position, you want to see how he, fills the run. Now, when you see him right there, he can read the offensive scheme, which lets me know he knows the defensive scheme. He knows he's the inside-out C-gap player right there. And what I like right here is look at when he's coming down, right? There's no fair dodging. He's got good play entry. He knows what's coming. No hesitations, coming down there full speed. And what I like to call, he starts to kill grass, right? You see that? He pitter pats right there, good position, head up right there, like a little bit more head up. But then look, he forks lifts the kid and almost makes the tackle for loss and makes it right at the line of scrimmage. And if he doesn't make that tackle, it's a big run. So I think the way that they play him in this defense, that he's playing for in high school, they put a lot of trust in him and feel like it's an advantage when he has to make a tackle on the open field against any athlete. And so when you think about him potentially starting out as safety, eating himself and training himself into a linebacker, these are the things that Coach Cooper and Dvorak are excited about, because these are the things that they do day in and day out, whether it's their group work, things that they train for, things that they obviously scout. And then obviously this is what they want to see out of a player. They want players that can make fundamental plays over and over and over, and then they start to look phenomenal. And that's a pretty good play right there.
A little bit from let's get this right there, and a little bit about the junior season from Rex. 106 tackles that led the team, 6 pass breakups, 6.5 tackles for loss. So he was getting in the backfield and raising havoc, and along with 3 interceptions. So he's got some ball skills too. And this one, I just like coming down from depth, his safety spot again, Jay, and just laying a good hard hit and driving the ball carrier back. I love it how most of these highlights, he's breaking down. And, sometimes in college football, you watch college football on Saturdays, breaking down sometimes doesn't always happen, but I think Rex Guthrie's been taught well, right?
Yeah, he's whoever is coached him earlier in his career has taught him how to be an effective tackler and told him about leverage, right? So I'll look at the way he's able to drop his hips and explode up through contact. That's what you want. And the one thing that Nebraska's defense needs to get better at is the second and third hit. And this is what you want, guys that are going to deliver a blow. And so it's going to take a little while for him to develop. You obviously look at the size of the players that he's playing. So it won't be as many, big hits like this. But what I like about him, he's a willing hitter. One of the things that you can't scout or you can't take away from a player is his ability or want to go into contact. That's something that's either in you or needs to be developed. It's already in him. So this is a lot to work with. Just like Evan Cooper said, you got to get to work. And so he's probably told him that you got to improve a lot, but there's a lot to, there to improve upon. And so the play entry is good, but the sure tackling and the explosiveness is good too. So when you look at his size, 6 foot, almost 200 pounds, coming down, right? He's able to adjust, right? Because number 11 is getting blown up into his face. It didn't affect him in having his eyes on the ball, right? So his eyes and head is always up through the shoulders, exploding up, an explosive tackle right there. You make more hits like that on ball carriers, then you start to get some fumbles, then you start to get a lot of turnovers, and then you start to get some defensive touchdowns. You need more guys that when they arrive to the party, they're coming with bad intentions, and that's what he showed right there.
And he's arriving to the party on this one too, where he's one-on-one right here with the running back. Again, his tackling technique is really good for somebody his age. I feel like he's coming back down from about 10 yards deep. He's breaking down. He's under control. He's square with the line of scrimmage, and he's bringing he's wrapping up legs. I just love this kid, what he's doing right now.
Well, he has a plan.
Yeah.
See, I think a lot of times, you see kids in high school and in college and sometimes in the pros, when they're tackling people, they don't have a plan. And what it lets me know is he's studied tape. He knows and has a plan for when he's tackling a certain running back in a certain defense based on the formation. He knows he's a middle of the field defender, it looks like right here, right? Or a backside cover 4 where he's coming down. He has to make this tackle a short tackle. So you can't go for the explosive hit because you have to get this guy on the ground. But I like it that he comes down, breaks down, and he always wraps up, right? And that's something that's a lost art of tackling here. And I like it that where he comes down, that there's no hesitation. That's the best thing about it. He's not. This is who he is, right? This is something that he's about every single day he goes to practice. And when the pads come on, and that's where you usually separate the champions and the chumps and the guys that are for real. And not for real is when the pads come on. Can you tackle? Can you do it consistently? Yes, you could do it one day, but can you do it 3, 4, 5, 6, 20 practices in a row? Those are the guys that are going to be dependable, and those are the guys that got to be your program builders. So right now, you heard about 2 coaches, or you told us about 2 coaches that are excited about them. Mm-hmm. These are 2 things not only that they're looking at for the future, but it's also letting you know what they need more of on the team presently. So, look, you got to give him his props where, he's made himself into – a Power 5 Division I player. And Nebraska has done a good job, like a lot of players that you mentioned before. You want to be first in line, especially where you're at as a program. It lets you, the thing is giving you a deep dive into what their mindset is. We're going to develop these guys, and we know they're going to develop because I think they do more background on who they are and how they are as football players. So they know that they can project a little bit easier, that they will develop into productive players, and he's one of them.
And when we talk about the potential with him to move down to a second level linebacker, his versatility that he provides with his tackling, he also runs a 4.43 40. I mean, let's get that out of the way. I mean, he runs a 4.4. He's a June camp find from Nebraska, came and camped at Nebraska in the middle of the month last month. Really impressed. And I remember, if I remember right, he also ran a 4.47 at a Wyoming camp before he came to Lincoln. So this kid can move. He has explosion. He has a 10.4 broad jump too, which was also measured at the Nebraska camp. And they offered him after his camp performance. He came back to Lincoln the following week for his official visit, committed. and now he's in the Huskers class. So it's fun to watch him as a defensive back too. I mean, we've been looking at the tackle highlights here, but right now he has a good nose for the ball. He has some good hands too, and he shows off a little bit of the speed here and the coverage ability.
Yeah, you're seeing him in they have a little bit of a switch action right here. He's playing a little bit of a deep safety. But he's reading the formation, right? And he probably had some film study and they practiced this. He knew the inside defender was in a little bit of a hairy situation, right? And we saw a little bit of this, I think, of the Minnesota game where we got our player in this position got picked off, and you like the safety to be there, right? Yeah. I mean, it was a crucial part of the game. This is play recognition right here. And this is also taking a calculated gamble based on his superior athletic ability. I'm glad you mentioned it. Everybody thinks, okay, a white safety, he can't run and jump. Well, he can do it better than a lot of other people out there in America. But I like the high point of the ball right here. And also is based on his film study, which then allows his athletic ability to just come out in droves. And again, the drone look right here is a great look. It's like almost, Madness, right? In the new cameras in the NFL. But I like it because it actually gives you a better view on how to scout him, right? So now when you look back at this play, when it starts, you can see his footwork, you can see his break, you can see his play recognition. He's looking inside, he's baiting the quarterback, right? Look at his eyes in the quarterback. He knows where he's going, right? So he's going in between one and two. He sees two go out. He knows one's coming in, right? He knows this is coming. It's kind of a wheel route. So he's going to go steal it because he knows exactly where the quarterback's going based off of his alignment and also off the initial release of the inside receiver, which is number 2. But he knew where the quarterback was going. He knew he high pointed it right there between the numbers and the sideline. And it's a big play, and you're turning the ball over. And so that's what you want. You want guys that can do the fundamental things. And then when they need to do extraordinary things, which is obviously play recognition and making plays, this is what you want.
Yes, absolutely. And right here, he doesn't get the pick, but it's a nice pass breakup. Almost he's acting as a corner right now, right?
Yeah, he is. I mean, sometimes based on the formation and defenses, he's got to be, playing one-on-one. But this is what you want right here. You want to see him cover, right? You don't want to be labeled as a player that's only, a hitter. And, obviously the way that they run their defense, their initial alignment and technique is a little bit different. It's kind of like we're trying to keep everything inside. So kind of like a cover 3 look, but actually they're playing a little bit of, man coverage 0. There's no safety help. So this is, mano a mano, and you feel very comfortable with him, obviously being on the outside, even though he's a safety position. I'm assuming this is their best receiver, and he did a really good job of covering probably the hardest route to cover, which is an out route with, head up to inside technique. And he broke on the ball really good. Then when he turned around and when his head turned around, it was right when he was the closest to the defender to make a play on the ball. So he turned around late, and that's what you want. You don't want to turn around early because that's where the separation goes or comes for the offense because your feet stop. But look at this break, good, plant, turn it, kind of almost wanted to undercut it. He knew he couldn't get there. 1-2 steps gathered, and then he went right for when the receiver was running his route, and he got the ball, and then he obviously scraped it out. So it's a good play right there by him as far as coverage and making a play on the ball. And these are the type of size, speed, weight type of athletes he's going to have to cover. And so when you're evaluating somebody, knowing he has to get a lot better and he has some potential, you weigh how much better can you get versus where he's at right now and how much is he willing to work. And I think when they saw him come to camp, and then also, first of all, they heard about what he did in Wyoming, coming on a bigger stage, I'm assuming, kind of off the radar, come to Nebraska camp, build a relationship with these coaches, come back on the official visit. Obviously, it was a really, obviously good initial visit with the camp.
Yep. Get
an offer, think about it, commit. It wasn't a spur of the moment type of thing. I think what people don't understand about these camps, and I don't know what Coach Rhule and those guys do, but I know what I've heard a lot of coaches talk about. They watch everything you do. So they watch, how you go and get Gatorade. Are you nice to the people that are helping? Are you in the front of the line? Are you encouraging other people even though they're doing well? Or are you just a guy that's only there for yourself? So those are the qualities that are underneath this athletic ability that's appealing to, whether it's Coach Cooper or Dvorak. And I'm sure they're going to have discussions throughout, the next, 6, 7, 8 months before he gets here in 2024, whether he's going to be at. But, I think he has the ability to make up ground, to cover. So even if he had to move into that kind of extra kind of hybrid position, he could do really well because he has the athletic ability that can, and then he also has the frame to add more weight and be kind of a hybrid type of player and be very, very effective.
And one last thing on the potential to move down to that second level. This past spring, I remember I was at a press conference and Matt Rhule was talking, and I asked him a question about one of the safeties, I think, or maybe it was Malcolm Hartzog, and how he that was during the time when they were experimenting with Malcolm at safety, rover, just whatever, just trying to get him at different positions to find out what he does best. I think it's be ultimately corner, obviously, but I asked Matt Rhule about, potentially having safeties move down to the second level. And here is his quote, "The way we'll win is when we recruit safeties and they grow into about 220 pounds and they go down to play linebacker. The days of the big safety are kind of over. Everyone is kind of moving around, just as much speed on the field as we can move around." So when I read that and I hear Matt Rhule say that, I just think that there's a plan that they have with these 5 defensive back spots, the 2 safeties, the 1 rover. Get these guys in right now who have the traits, who maybe they're fast, maybe they have extreme length, and develop them, get them in the program and see what they look like in 1 or 2 seasons. And, maybe Rex Guthrie is the next really fast Nebraska linebacker. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a ton of potential and
Yes.
there's a ton of opportunity. And in this defense, if you can play football, you're going to be on the field. So those things right there are all in the positive direction. And where he starts and where he ends up is going to be up to him and the coaching staff. And really, look, he's a good football player. So if he gets bigger, faster, and stronger, or just gets bigger and stays fast, he's going to be he's going to be on the field, whether it's a safety in the hybrid position or a weak side linebacker. So with him and Eric Fields right there, you got 2 guys that heat-seeking missiles that make a lot of plays and they can make a lot of mistakes. They can make up for a lot of mistakes up front. What I mean by that is, with him, the thing that jumped off the tape with me and watching more highlights than 5 plays that we put is his play recognition. It's over and over and over again. It's not the same plays. It's 3-by-1 formation, 2-by-2, tight splits, wide splits, motion, all that type of stuff. He's a student of the game, and that's what's allowed him to be successful, along with the athletic ability that's obviously snuck up on a lot of people. And that's, I think, what is ultimately was really, really appealing to not only, Matt Rhule, the coaching staff, Tony White, Evan Cooper, and Dvorak. Heck, I'm sure Pot Roast will probably try to find a way to get him in some blitz packages if he can really come off the edge. So everybody is probably pretty excited to get him because of what he's done on the tape, but also what he's made of.
You said it best. He's a football player. I don't care about the rankings. I don't care about the 2 stars. Throw on the tape, watch him play football. He can play football. So, Jay, this was a really good one. I had a lot of fun breaking down Rex Guthrie with you, a safety defensive back prospect out of Heritage High School in Littleton, Colorado. So, for Jay Foreman, I am Steve Marik, and that was a Blackshirt breakdown Rex Guthrie style. Catch y'all later.